Hello and welcome to Guitarist Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.guitarist.com. We got two of the members of the band Vajra. Would you guys like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Anna Maria.
And I'm Dave.
And Anna Maria, you're the front woman and the singer. And Dave, you were telling me that you both the bass player and the guitar player. So how long has the band been together?
Well, it's kind of a weird story. I started writing the music for the debut album when I was living in India. It was meant to be a studio project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. And then I just decided when I was there and I decided, do I stay in India? Well, I was thinking, do I stay in India? Do I come to the U.S.? And I decided to come back to the U.S. And so I got my friend Blake Fleming, who was the former drummer for the Mars Volta, involved in the project. I was like, will you drum for me?
Wow.
Yeah, and he's like, well, let me hear it first. And so I was like, all right, cool. I sent it to him, and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. So he recorded drums on Pleroma. He also recorded drums on Ercala, the last EP we just released.
Oh, wow.
And then I had some other people get involved in the project as well. And then we decided to play some shows starting on 11-10-11. So we wanted 11-11-11, but it was just the day before.
Wow.
So and so we all got in a room and we just played for the first time, and it was just like, wow, this is pretty cool. So we've been playing ever since, and of course we've had lineup changes, and Dave joined the band in 2015.
Oh, wow. So let me ask you, Anna Maria, are you originally from India?
No, I'm originally from upstate New York.
I was going to say, because you speak very good English.
Yeah, but I was living in India for about 5 years.
Wow.
I left America just to kind of explore and discover who I am. And I felt at the time I needed to pull myself out of my surroundings in order to really question some of the underlying tenets of who I thought I was.
And here's a question for you. So why India? Why not Europe? Why not Spain? Why not another part of the world?
Well, I had lived in Europe.
Okay.
I studied in Europe. Europe wasn't as different as I needed.
Oh, yeah, because,
easier for me to get along in Europe. It was very similar to the U.S. India was not so similar.
And I'm assuming, because again, just listening to the one track, which is for the single, which is Crown or Crucify. I mean, there's a little bit of Indian, I guess, influence in the music, and that obviously has a lot to do with your surroundings there, I guess.
Yeah, completely. So, I mean, when I was living there, I had friends who were musicians. We would go to dinner and we would hear ghazals and all sorts of Indian music playing. So I would go to concerts and everything. So, yeah, it's a huge influence on me. Middle Eastern music is a huge influence on me as well. I've always loved that.
Yeah, I mean, even listen to like Led Zeppelin, Kashmir. That's got kind of Indian influences too.
Say that again?
Like if you even listen to Kashmir by Led Zeppelin, that's kind of got Indian influences as well. Stuff like that.
Exactly. I love that. Exactly.
And so here's another question, Anna Marie. So did this initially start out as a solo project, and then the more people that got involved, you just kind of got the feeling, hey, this is more of a band effort than a solo project?
No, I'd always envisioned it as a band project, but it was going to be a studio project. I did not envision that we would be touring or playing live shows. I mean, I thought that would be great, but I didn't know how far it was going to go. I kind of didn't think that far ahead. I wanted to see how it went. I wanted to see how the writing process went and how much I could really come up with something that was decent, basically, or listenable, I guess you'd say. It was just a great experiment, and here we are.
And so, Dave, you came into the picture around 2015. You guys said so. Talk about how you got the gig and what it's been like for you to be part of this.
So I've been a musician in the New York area for a while. I was in a band called Bile, which was like an industrial metal.
Okay.
Crazy band, and we did a lot of touring and stuff. And around that 2015 area, Bile was just sort of not doing anything live, and there wasn't really anything on the horizon. So I was kind of poking around looking for another band to play in, you know, for fun or whatever. And I knew Anna-Maria for a long time, and she had posted that she knew of a band looking for a guitar player. So I got in touch, and I'm like, hey, do you think I'd fit in with them? Who is it? You know?
Yeah.
She's like,
I'm like, it's us. It's Vajra. It's us. And he's like, what?
I'm like, oh, all right. So I learned the song. Obviously, you know, I had to learn the songs.
Yeah.
I knew that I was a fan. I had seen her play and everything. So I was like, okay. So I started learning the songs. And one thing that became apparent learning the songs on guitar is that the first album, Pleroma, was very layered in guitars. If you listen to any of that music, there's a lot of guitar happening in there. And like she said, it was a studio project. So I took what I was hearing, and I you know, it's a one guitar band.
Wow.
And I created a way to meld it all, I guess, into something that I can do by myself live, because obviously we can't take 8 guitar players.
Yeah.
So, but I come from a metal and, you know, progressive and industrial background where you have to be a bigger sound than just one guy. I'm not sitting there playing, you know, easy licks or whatever.
So this must be quite different, right, for you? I mean, being from playing typically in a 2-guitar band, you're doing everything on your own.
I've actually never been in a 2-guitar band. It's always been, all the bands I've been in were 1 guitar, so I had that frame of reference.
Oh, cool. And so when you got involved, Dave, like, was a lot of the stuff already written? And I imagine, so what's that like to go on a project where everything's kind of written and you're just kind of coming in and learning it all?
I was learning it all, but I was also sort of making it my own.
Yeah.
I had to figure out, like I said, I had to take what her original guitar player did and kind of transpose it into what I'm able to play and how I can present it the best way I can present it live, you know, to sound like the songs, you know.
Yeah, that's a big deal, because finding a guitarist that can actually do that, and not only tone-wise, but note-wise, to select the parts that carry the song through live it's a difficult feat, and Dave has this uncanny ability to do it. It's really pretty cool.
Oh, thank you.
and that's great. And Dave, you mentioned that you also play the bass. I was curious, which instrument is your primary instrument, or which one would you say you're the strongest at?
I'm definitely a guitar player. I've also been in a few bands playing bass, and when I had to, there was a time when I had to take off for a couple of years, and then she had gotten 2 guitar players to sort of sit in for a minute. So I was like, I'm coming back, but now there's no bass player, so I learned all the songs on bass.
That's cool. I mean, I think any time that you can play more than one instrument, I mean, most guys have their primary instrument. That's pretty cool, because it gives you a better understanding maybe of what other guys in the band do. Maybe it makes you a better producer, even songwriter probably.
Well, it definitely helps, because, you know, now we're about to go on tour. We've had a long-time drummer named Jimmy, who's amazing. And he has a friend of his who he's played with in prior bands come in to play bass with us. And I'm able to communicate with him as a guitar player and a bass player and play well together with him now. So it's actually a lot of fun. It's you know, we're practicing and we're, you know,
and I'm sure
we're all like thrilled to bring it.
I'm sure knowing Anna-Maria, it helps, you know, with the chemistry when you join the band. But let me ask you, as a guy who typically comes from a metal background, this is, I know it's got metal elements to what it does, but like there's the Indian influence is really, as you say, heavy, and so that's probably a lot different from what the background you came from. So how fun was it to kind of be getting involved in something a little different from what you typically have done?
It was a lot of fun. It was, you know, like I said, when I come from the metal background, you know, I was doing typical metal solos or whatever. I had to throw it all out. All the pentatonic scales, I had to throw them out. And I had to reinvent my playing to
fit this.
I don't know the word, but
Phrygian scales, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't think in terms of AC/DC.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
On the floor, you know, polyrhythm stuff at times. So it's just and playing on the E's and the A's of the beat.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just 4 on the floor, and it's just not what we're about. It's not there's anything wrong with it. It's just not so stimulating, and for me to want to play.
Yeah, because I can tell people the overall sound when I listen to your music that I get is I'd say this is kind of anybody that's into metal will dig this. And you're right. This is not AC/DC. It's kind of a modern metal, as you say. It's got Indian influences in. I say it's a little dark. It's haunting. But to say it's one thing, I mean, this is not AC/DC. It's not Slayer, Metallica. It is kind of its own unique kind of brand, I will say, and that's what makes it interesting. Is it's metal, but it's not slam you over head metal. It's a little bit of something for everybody, and it's unique too because it's not like every other metal band out there, and that's what impressed me about it.
Thanks, Jason. That means a lot to us because it's like people are like, it's not. Or do you scream? And I'm like, no, I don't scream. And you know, like, is it like, what's it like? Is it like this band or that band? And I'm like, yeah, I guess.
I mean, that's the thing is it's hard to pigeonhole you guys. It's hard to say. I mean, definitely, I would say it's haunting. It's dark. It's metal. It's all of that. Maybe even got some melody. And I think part of the reason for that is when I listen to the songs are really it's great songwriting. And I think is what really is a key element for any band to be successful. And it makes you guys stand out because you don't sound like AC/DC. You don't sound like the Butcher Babies or every other, female-fronted band out there. You just kind of, you got your unique sound, and I think that's what I think people will be impressed by.
Thanks, Jason. You know who's a huge inspiration for us is Tool, and we don't sound like Tool.
No.
But their creativity and their own uniqueness is what has been a guiding force and a strong influence in what we do.
And I would almost say it's kind of, it's definitely got elements of metal with a little bit of a modern rock sound. As I've kind of described so far, you guys are kind of all over the place, but you do kind of have an overall sound. And I think people check this out if they're going to dig it down. Let's talk about the song because this is the current single, Crown or Crucify. Cool looking video. I mean, it's like something you would have seen on Headbangers Ball back in the day. I just love the video. So what's the song about if you want to talk about that?
Thank you. Well, there's two things. We can talk about the music and we can talk about the video. The music, that song I started writing via keyboard. So I just created some of these licks and then had this concept that I was working through a past relationship that I was in, and it was like failing, and it was about that kind of exploration at that time of just being vulnerable to somebody, but you can crown or you can crucify. I can be vulnerable, but should I be vulnerable? And are you as transparent as I am? It was all kind of questioning all of that at that time. And of course the relationship failed. So it didn't work. Yeah, I got crucified. And it was really difficult for me because I was actually willing to give up where I live, my life, my family, and go live in another country.
Oh, wow.
All that stuff I was willing to do, and I that person was willing to do some of that, but it was just not going. I don't think at that he wasn't able to give
as much
what I was willing to give. So,
people.
It's all about that exploration, and then the video. So when we had COVID, we had. This music was coming, but we also needed some visuals and video, and New York City was shut down.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. So Dave and I decided let's just learn. Let's just do the videos ourselves. So we both wrote a story based on. Let me take a step back. All of the music on Urkala has a video component, and all the videos fit together into a short film, which we are still editing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's coming. It's coming. It's just, since we're doing everything 100% ourselves. Like, we wrote the story, which is based on, it's not based, it's inspired by the Sumerian classic hero myth, The Descent of Inanna. And then Dave bought a camera and learned how to use the camera. That was during Maya, the video Maya.
Wow.
And he also learned a new editing software program because he was in the Adobe system, and then he moved into.
I bought a Blackmagic camera, so DaVinci Resolve came with it, and I was like, you know what? Let me learn a new ecosystem. I wanted to get out of Adobe because who wants to pay $80 a month?
I think you made the right decision for a lot of reasons. I mean, like I said, I'm just looking at it, and it looks very professional. And a lot of times you spend a little more money on something, and it's all about quality. I mean, even talking about paying a little more for a nice dinner out, as opposed to being cheap about it. You might get a little nicer evening out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And it's also, like as she said, we were learning everything. So part of it is learning filmmaking, because these videos, we wanted to make, films. I didn't want to make a typical rock video.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to make a COVID video, which was like what everyone was doing at the time. Everyone sitting around at their houses, filming themselves and then putting it together into a collage. There's no way we were going to do that. So we wanted to make some films. So these videos were what we sat there during the long nights of everything being shut down for months, and we created them. We filmed everything around New York City.
We wrote the story, we shot it, we edited it, I did the costumes, I did makeup, we selected the locations. The locations were, for example, like the dating scene in Maya was at the Bloody Angle, which is near our house, about 2 blocks away from our house, but it's where the Chinese gangs used to use hatchets to kill each other. So there's like this underlying theme of darkness.
Yeah.
The locations that we selected, the Dead Horse Bay, where there's the ceremony on the beach, that was also an area where there was a horse rendering facility. There are bones that wash up on the beach, chopped up bones. There was also, when they built the Belt Parkway, these homes were destroyed, and that area was used as a landfill for people's homes and stuff. So, I mean, it's really dark, and that energy would infuse the videos. So in Crown or Crucify, we also shot some of the scenes in our apartment. We brought up 20 bags of dirt up 5 flights of stairs.
Wow.
Took all our furniture out of our living room, put the dirt on the floor, and I buried Dave in the dirt. So, we did all kinds of crazy things. But that's what we just did what we wanted to do. We tried to make it as professional as we could make it. We put a lot of time and effort into everything, a lot of pre-planning, a lot of thought on the story and all of that sort of thing. So it's good to hear.
I mean, I think the video, like I said, again, just watching it myself, very professional looking, and now talking to you and hearing all that you guys went to make the video, and that you're creating this little film, and these videos are all going to fit together. I think that's cool, because again, it's more than just giving the fans, a new CD of music. It's like we want you to think with. I mean, in my day, Thinking Man's rock with maybe Pink Floyd, and anybody that's seen like Pink Floyd, The Wall, the movie, that's really kind of far out and different. But again, it's making people think maybe a little harder about what these songs are about, what's the music about, and the band's taking it, I think, to the extra mile.
Yeah, we talked a lot about Pink Floyd, The Wall, when we were making these videos.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds nothing like Pink Floyd. It's just the point that, giving fans a little something extra to kind of, think about. And I love hearing the story of what the song is about. People, how many of us have struggled through, a relationship or tried to make it work, and for one reason or another, just it fails. But you went through that. I think that's what makes it a strong song too. Is that as opposed to these songs are just being stuff that's made up. It's a lot of it's based on your own life experience, I'd imagine.
Yeah, the lyrics are for me. The lyrics are part of the purging process.
Yeah.
It's like turning. It's like alchemy, turning coal into gold. It's like a shit. You go through shit, and in order to there's a lot of self-reflection that I do, and that self-reflection is evident in the lyrics. But it's always, I try to look at universal concepts. It's not like I'm aberration, right? Like
no. Yeah.
We all go through this stuff. So how is it relatable? How just it's like talking to your friends.
Sure.
Remember when this happened to you, or how did you feel when this is this is how I felt. That's what it is. That's what that song is, especially.
And
I can add something about the video. When I made the video, I kind of had the vision, especially for the first part of it.
Yeah.
And I wanted the video to start. If you watch it, you see it's she's singing, and there's a beautiful love scene.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to start off this I don't know what the word is, but ethereal sort of beautiful thing. But then when the drums kick in and Jimmy's slamming on that drum, with his angry face.
Yeah.
To me, that was uh-oh, this isn't going to be as pretty as you think it's going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that thinking. And I think if somebody watches all the videos together and really tries to watch the story, they could find a cool story in it that maybe that we were trying to express,
and songwriting and creating a song and stuff, it's all about interpretation for a lot of times. I mean, you just said here, both you guys, you told me what the video and the song's about, but I imagine you get people emailing you and stuff on your Facebook page and telling you how they love the band and stuff, and oftentimes you probably have heard a fan tell you, hey, I just love your song, that it's just great, it really touched my heart, it reminded me when my losing my mom or dad or something like that, and you're like, it's not what the song's about, but hey, if that's what and that's a great thing too, the songwriter, I think, is somebody listens to something you wrote that's totally about something else, but they got totally something out of it, which I think as a writer is just a great feeling, oh wow, I didn't write about that, but if that's what you got out of it, great.
Yeah, so, and sometimes I won't even say that's not what I wrote.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. The way another interprets what they see is what it is about, right?
Yeah.
For them. So now it becomes that too. So it's yep, it's about that too.
I mean, and to me, before I even talked to you and found out what the song was actually about, I mean, just the title alone, Crown or Crucify, I mean, it could almost be like a song about strength, maybe people trying to cut you down or trying to get in the way of your dream coming true, and you're like, no, I'm not gonna listen to that, those bad vibes. I'm not gonna listen to what people are saying. I'm gonna just do my thing, and I'm gonna stay strong. I mean, a song, I think, could be interpreted any number of ways,
That's right. I agree with that, because there are elements of that. You say one thing, but one thing means
something else to different people. Yeah.
Even to yourself, because it's not tied to one concept. It's tied to who you are. It's how much you allow somebody in, how much you don't allow somebody in, how much reflection you are taking, how much you're giving, how much you're receiving. The mirror image of what you do to that person and what you cause in that person, what that person causes in you or triggers in you. Everything is connected.
And I need to imagine as a band together, when you guys get in a room to create, a new song or whatever, you kind of all vibing off of each other. Maybe Dave starts with a guitar riff, and it might get a lyric to pop in your head or something, and just go from there.
Yeah, it just depends on the song. Whatever the song wants.
Yeah, and let me ask you. I always love to ask people. Tell me the story behind the band's name, because when I got the press release on the band, I'm like, first thing I'm asking is what is the band's name? What is Vajra? I mean, so let's hear that story.
Yeah, so Vajra is Tibetan Buddhist or Hindu for the thunderbolt or the diamond. It is that which breaks through everything. And I had gone through like lists of band names, and I kept coming back to this Vajra because the project is about divinity through creativity. It's connecting through the art form of writing and performing, and through that medium is how you discover the truth about yourself.
You know, I love that, knowing even more what it means now, because again, okay, Vajra is one word, it's kind of simple, and even not knowing what the name is, it's like right away I was telling myself, I bet there was no other band out there, so that's a great reason to name the band after. But then it gets people asking the question, it gets people talking about the band, which I think is really how you know if you've got a great band name.
Thank you.
I also love being in bands that have one word.
Yeah, it's simple. I mean, even a band like Kiss. Kiss is it's simple, gets people talking. What Kiss? Why name your band Kiss? And then you look at the band, the makeup, and kind of the way they are glammed out. It kind of makes sense. But again, just one word. I think those are oftentimes the best bands because, like they say, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And so, let me ask you, Anna-Maria, you mentioned Tool, but who are some of your other influences? Maybe some of your favorite singers that influenced you?
Yeah, there's so many. I'm influenced from life. It's really life. A leaf falling from the tree and the cadence and of that falling to the earth.
Oh, wow. I dig that. That's cool. That's not your typical answer, but that's what makes that what you guys are about, I guess, so cool. So I understand you guys are currently working on new music as far as towards your next release. Is that correct?
We are, yeah. We're in the studio with Sahaj right now. We're back and forth. So we've got mostly everything recorded. We have to do some guitar solo stuff. We have to do some bridges. We have to work through some of the vocal
Little bits and pieces.
harmonies on some bridges, and then we're in good shape. And then we have to mix and then master. So it's coming.
And do you see this as a progression? And what I mean by that is, as you're recording these new songs, do you have in your head that okay, the band has to sound a certain way, or as you say, if a great song comes out, it's a great song? Do you have a said like Vajra box that hey, we don't really want to do a power ballad because that's not what the band is known for, or are you willing to kind of we'll see in how it comes out?
I had the demos that were written. No, I mean the music does not originate like that. The music originates from sitting, and somebody comes up with a riff or a lick. And in this case, for this next album, the music came mainly from me sitting in a room creating some lick or riff that we vibed off of afterwards. Yeah. So that's the foundational point, and that foundational point is usually like tripping out and just kind of sitting in front of like the keyboard or the guitar and seeing just what comes, just playing around and saying, oh, you know what, let's work in A minor right now. Let's just hear these notes and how these notes fit, let's hear what's there in that scale. And, oh, what about this? This sounds really cool. And then what if I put this over here? And then it's a process of, like, layering. And then it's like, hey, what do you think of this? And then somebody else would come up with something else or whatever it is.
Oh, cool. Now, let me ask you, Anna-Maria, you mentioned playing the keyboards. Were you always a piano player, keyboard player, or, did you start out?
No. I started off with violin when I was like 6, I'd say like 8, and then I moved over to flute, and then like through high school, and then I just like left everything. I was like, I want to work on vocals. But throughout the whole time, since I was 3, I was dancing, so I was exposed to a lot of music
yeah.
since I was really, really young.
Again, I think that makes you a more rounded musician. I mean, even people might be surprised to learn that, like a lot of players like Ritchie Blackmore, Eddie Van Halen, they start out playing, piano and different instruments, and even Blackmore's into like neoclassical stuff. So, I think a lot of times people be surprised to learn what other people are into, but it makes you a more rounded musician,
Totally. It all feeds together.
And when you started learning how to be a singer, were you comfortable right away with your ability as a singer? I mean, a lot of people I know, when they hear their voice like on tape for the first time, that's kind of a little difficult. What was that process like for you?
I still hate it.
Yeah. But how surprised were you though when you started recording your own songs and people were telling you, you're a pretty good singer?
I'm always pretty amazed. But of course you want to be told that you're a good singer, but it's a lot of struggle for me. It's a lot of work. I think because I think it's just so normal a voice, and it is because it's my voice, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not so different from anybody else. So I don't think it's that special, because you can argue everyone is special, right?
Yeah, I got you. But and I love the fact that you bring keyboards into the music, because I've always been a fan of that. Where on the flip side, a lot of people will tell you, you've probably heard this many times, keyboards don't belong in rock or metal. Keyboards suck. I kind of I don't think that way. I mean, I love all those great. I tell people, okay, if you think keyboards suck and don't belong in rock music, you go and listen to all those great Deep Purple albums, and and listen to what John Lord did, and then you tell me that.
Yeah, even Black Sabbath brought a keyboard.
Rick Wakeman, yeah.
Come on,
Yeah, so I think it's great that you guys are able to enthuse that stuff, in the music. And again, I urge people to go out and now, can they buy? Do you have physical CDs, or is this digitally? Tell people how they can get the album.
Yeah, so we have CDs and we have vinyl as well that we have. Our store is relaunching in like a couple of weeks, and we're going to have everything available on tour. So we'll have the CDs and the vinyl on tour, although we do not have vinyl for Pleroma. We only have vinyl for Urkala.
And everything is on our website. Of course, like you said, the store, we're launching it soon, but our website has all the links to everything, and it will have our store when it's launching. You can put your email address in and get notified when it launches. And but yeah, our website is really the hub for everything, which is vajraofficial.com.
That's great. And before we wrap it up for today, let me ask you guys a little bit about the tour. Has the tour kicked off yet, or when is that going to happen?
The tour kicks off on October 20th, and we have 4 limited dates, which are pretty exciting because we have not played Urkala live because Urkala was released during COVID. So we are super, super thrilled to be playing songs for the first time live. And we have not been on tour and played live since 2019. So it's like a lot of dusting off cobwebs and getting back out there and feeling everybody's energy. So we're really pretty stoked.
And so are you guys getting in rehearsal mode, I imagine?
Oh, we've been in rehearsal mode. It's pretty heavy right now. And now the next 2 weeks are going to be insane. So, yeah.
Well,
totally.
that's great. And final question, I meant to ask you earlier in the interview, you talked about living in India for a while. So when you first moved to India, how different was that? I mean, was it like a total culture shock? Did it take you a while to kind of, because I imagine it's quite different from the United States.
Complete culture shock, and I did not speak the language before I moved there. So it was...
and did you pick it up fast?
I didn't pick it up fast, but I did pick it up, and then I was taking lessons, of course. Like I was learning how to write it in addition to speak it. But I was also like in a feature film, and so it was like learning how to get along, in that industry as well, without having spoken the right language. I mean, it was as simple, the basics were very difficult, like taking a cab and directing the cab, and I had to learn in Hindi how to say, take a right.
All things we take for granted. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine there wasn't a Starbucks or McDonald's on every corner, right?
No, in fact, when I was living there, coffee was not a thing. It was only teas.
Wow.
It was very rare to find a coffee place, a coffee shop. There was no Starbucks when I was living there. So it was quite different. I mean, finding comfort foods that are like American foods, like stupid things like even tuna fish in a can or mayonnaise, or stuff like that was not possible. You had to only go to certain stores in order to find that. Getting coffee was, certain stores I had to go to find coffee, like ground coffee, and chocolate was a weird thing. Baked goods were the chocolate was different. It wasn't the same chocolate that we have here. I mean, there's a lot of weird things. I mean, when I went to get an apartment, it was a whole big thing because people live with their families. Usually single people live with their families until they get married. And you don't usually have single females at the time living alone. So it was a whole big thing where they were questioning what I did and whether or not I was a prostitute, believe it or not.
Wow. I mean, really? Yeah. And then how do people, like, when you play your music and your songs and that, is there much of an audience for metal music or rock music at all in India?
Yeah, they have a big metal scene. It's a college metal scene.
Wow.
And a lot of kids would come to shows, like so many people. But it's heavy. It's like Opeth. I think Metallica was really big. Opeth was on the cover. I remember when I was there.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird because they also like Bryan Adams, which was kind of weird. So
Yeah.
There's some weird stuff, but making it in India, singing in English was going to be more difficult than to make it, or to be more accessible to people than it would be in America. So that's why I decided to move back.
Yeah, and I think, well, that's the proof is in the pudding. I mean, the fact that you did all that, I mean, it really shows that the music kind of stands out. And I urge people to go out and check it out, because if you're into metal, I think you're going to dig it, and it gives you like a great story to tell. I mean, I really enjoyed chatting with you, Annamaria and Dave. So let's keep in touch and do it again. And I'm planning to post the interview in about 2 weeks. When I have a date, I'll be sure to let the publicist know. But feel free to share it on any of your sites. And again, if you're happy with the way the interview went today, let's do it again down the line.
Let's do it again.
Yeah,
Thanks so much, Jason.
Take care. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Chaotic Riffs Magazine.